Schools all over the world are closing down, and teachers are having to learn about teaching online virtually at lightning speed. And parents' eyes are going to be open to a whole new world of teaching through online because of one of the fastest spreading viruses that is causing worldwide panic, known as the coronavirus. Now, in-person tutors with weakened immune systems and family members with other health conditions, they're becoming worried of contracting this virus and are wondering if tutoring online would be a good idea at this time. So if you're a tutor in this position or a tutor that has wanted to switch your students online, this is the perfect time. But what are the steps and how do you go about it? Keep watching. Now, as we know, schools are full of germs. When I was teaching, it seemed that I would contract everything my students came up with. I was sick a lot, but like any serious teacher, I usually came to work anyways and did the best that I could. I mean, it was a lot easier for me to work than to plan lessons for taking the day off. And I share this because now that I've been tutoring from home, I've actually been healthier than the first 10 years of my teaching career in the school system. I joke with my online students when they come with a cold and I say, hey, no sneezing on that computer, okay? I want to stay healthy. They laugh and then we continue with the lesson. But now, teachers who tend to go to school when they are sick are being advised to stay home. And as the virus spreads, there are not going to be enough teachers left teaching. So schools that have the largest outbreaks are closing down. In fact, in Bothell, where one of our tutors, Alan Sow, lives, the district is moving its walls for a few weeks from the school building to the cloud. A letter was sent to parents that included the following information of why the decision was made and how it would make the transition. So the superintendent says, now I believe the time has come for our district community to make an important shift. All school sites in the North Shore School District will be closed beginning Thursday, March 5th for up to 14 days, while we continue to monitor the situation and health department recommendations. Today and tomorrow, we will communicate plans to transition instruction from classroom to cloud, online learning, beginning Monday, March 9th. This decision was made thoughtfully and with the support of a variety of district and community leaders. Why am I making this decision today? The superintendent says. I considered the fact pattern that my team and I have been tracking since mid-February and into this afternoon. By now, you're aware that we closed Bothell High School for 2 days last week to deep clean and wait for test results from the family member of an employee. Frank Love Elementary was closed on Monday so we could clean and wait for test results on another employee. We are still waiting for those results. Multiple individuals from across our district are in self-quarantine because they may have been exposed to the COVID-19 coronavirus as a result of the issues at the senior home in Kirkland. At about 8:30 this morning, we were informed by a parent volunteer at Woodmore Elementary School that their medical provider had run tests and the results are presumptively positive for the COVID-19 virus. Our staff at Woodmore worked quickly with families to minimize any additional exposure and send students home safely. In addition, 26 of our schools have been affected via direct or indirect exposure to the virus. We're receiving numerous calls and emails from parents and staff who are self-quarantining or are choosing to keep their students home. Today, our absentee rate for students district-wide was 20%. While we're working to minimize exposure of our students by making sure the education continues online, we're also concerned about the health of our staff. Dr. Jeff Dukin from Public Health Seattle and King County said today that children are not believed to be at serious risk for the disease, but we must be mindful of the population that is at a higher risk. The new public health recommendations to slow the spread of the coronavirus we received following today's press conference indicate that those people at highest risk should stay home and stay away from large groups of people as much as possible. Those with weakened immunity, pregnancy, and those who are 60 and over. As we are a veteran staff in North Shore, we have employees who fall into all of these categories. The conservative number calculated for those 60 and over alone is an impact of more than 500 or over 16% of our staff, including those in instruction, food service, and those driving buses full of students. We also have numerous staff that have other identified high risk factors, making the safe operation of our school untenable. Rapidly changing situation. At the time I sent my letter, there were 21 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in King County, including 8 deaths. There were 6 cases in Snohomish County, including 1 death. And today, the Washington State Department of Health website says the number of confirmed cases in King County is 31 with 10 deaths. Keep in mind that just 6 days ago, there was only 1 known case and no known deaths. As our district straddles both counties and 3 cities, we are impacted by the collective data. Our governor has shared his thoughts that folks should begin to think about avoiding large events and assemblies to reduce the risk of catching the virus. King County Executive Dow Constantine said at today's news conference, we're encouraging employers to maximize telecommuting and to make it possible for employees who can work from home to do so. Community groups should avoid creating large gatherings. The rule of thumb that public health has recommended is gathering of more than 10 people. And many of us would agree that a school building with 500 to 2,000 individuals, including students and staff, would be considered a large assembly, especially during lunch and other periods where sometimes hundreds of students gather. Now, what about our students' education? Well, let me be clear, she says, education is a service to which our district is resolutely committed. It is not a place. To that end, we're shifting our education from the classroom with 4 walls to the cloud. We're taking the strategic approach, not because we think that by doing so, we'll stop an epidemic. We are simply trying to do our part to slow the spread. Our job is to provide quality instruction to our students in a safe and welcoming environment, and we are no longer able to provide quality instruction and maintain an environment that is safe for our staff and students to learn, as we do not have sufficient staff to safely operate our schools. By transitioning from classroom to the cloud, we are also giving medical public health officials and the community time to get some critical answers regarding incubation period, level and length of contagious status, and fatality rates, as well as communication strategy that includes all necessary partners. We want to do our part to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Are we ready for school to cloud learning? Well, after Tuesday's training, we're now prepared to transition from classroom to the cloud, to moving teacher and learning beyond the 4 walls of our classroom for all of our students. Our instructional staff have and will continue to develop their skills for providing instruction to our students within an online environment. The team worked with students today to make sure that they are acquainted with the online platforms they will be using and that students are equipped with a device and Wi-Fi to engage in virtual learning. This North Shore Learns webpage provides classroom to cloud information and instructions for students and parents and guardians. The school has really thought of everything, you guys. I'm serious. They're coming up with solutions for free and reduced lunch for students that have IEPs and students that need childcare services, all in the hopes of just saving a few more lives. And that is exactly why I decided to share this information with you today. Not as a way to encourage more people to move online, because I'm passionate about online tutoring, but I know that there are tutors that are out there that are tutoring in person that have wanted to do online tutoring, but they're not sure how to do it. And I want to do my part to make sure that I help tutors learn how to transition online and learn the tech so that they can be prepared to move online, keep their income, and not be affected by the economic downturn that the world is currently facing right now. Well, so far, 32 states in the United States have been affected. The pace of diagnosis has quickened in recent days with 117 new cases announced Saturday, including the first ones in Kansas and Washington, D.C. The virus is now spreading within communities on both coasts, including in California, New York, and Washington State, where doctors have detected dozens of new cases in recent days. Now, I'm curious about your thoughts and opinions about the coronavirus, and I've created a survey to find out how tutors are being affected by this. So take a look at the link in the description and share your thoughts. And if you appreciate content like this for tutors, please hit that like button and subscribe. So what tools can you use to tutor online? The first tool is Zoom. It's far better than Skype or GoToMeetings. In fact, the stock rose more than 8% in early trading Thursday and is up 85% already this year. Zoom seems to be the market's poster child for the stay-at-home movement. School districts are purchasing pro accounts, and it is seriously changing the landscape of teaching and tutoring. So why is Zoom the favorite tool to hold web conferencing meetings? For me personally, it's less dropped calls than any other tool. I also like the ability to share screens and give access to my students to control the mouse. And since I work with younger kids, this is great because we don't have to go back and forth between who's sharing the screen. I can log into everything and then give my students control of the mouse when needed. Now, there's also a feature called Annotate. So anytime I want the student to write something, they can use the Annotate feature and write on it. This means that kids can break up their own words and really start utilizing the skills that I personally am teaching them. Also, I can share my computer sound. Now, there would be times when I was using Skype that I would want to show a video to a student, and I would have to like unplug my headphones and turn up the volume so they could kind of hear it. But in Zoom, I can just check a little box, share the computer sound when I'm sharing my screen, and it allows me to have the student hear the sound from their side of the computer. It's clear, it's understandable, and it's amazing. Now, I was afraid at first that since Zoom has rooms that my students would interrupt each other during the sessions. But I quickly learned that all I had to do was set up a recurring meeting for each of my students, and they would be able to log into their special room each week and never interrupt another student. Now, if you have more than one student on Zoom and you want to do breakout groups, you have the ability to put students in groups, work on different activities together, or discuss a question that you posed. You have the ability to go into the group and help students that need additional help students stay on track, or listen to the ideas that they're sharing, just like you can do in the classroom. And the best way to know how to use Zoom is to get on a call with someone and practice the features with someone who understands how it can be used for online tutoring. And this is why this weekend I am holding open office hours and training. You're going to be able to connect with me and my team and practice using these tools so that you can transition some or all of your students temporarily. All you need to do is go to the link in the description and sign up for your all access pass. Now, do you know a tutor that could benefit from this? Then please pass this on so that they can be supported and have the necessary tools and training to tutor online. Now, the next tool that is a staple for tutors is BitPaper. And this is an online whiteboard that students can use to show their work in real time with you. It allows you to see over the student's shoulder and know exactly how they're doing their work. You can also create hands-on lessons inside of BitPaper. Now, recently, I've been enjoying the ability to do sorts with my students. It takes practically no time to set up, and the students benefit greatly from the conversations that we get to have because of them. Here are some of the features that I like. So when you get started, all you have to do is click create a paper. So I'm just going to put test here as a test paper, and I'm just going to click create paper. It is going to go through a tutorial. If you would like to listen to it, you can. I usually just kind of click the skip button and do not listen to it. So I had mentioned before that sometimes I like to do sorts with my students. So if I can change the font that I want to be able to use with my students. I can make it super big, I can make it super small, I can make it whatever I want. So if I'm doing a sort with my students of, let's say I'm doing closed words, and then I can type on over here, not closed. So I can tell my students, okay, I'm going to type a word here, and you're going to tell me if this word is a closed word or a not a closed word. And so if I type on in here the word cat, they take a look at it and they tell me, is this closed or not closed? And then I can move it to the correct category that they tell me, or I can have them move it to the correct category. I could just write a whole bunch of words here and then they could just sort them. So I like to be able to use this for sorts. There's also, you have the ability to upload anything that you want to upload. So if you have a file that you want to be able to upload, you can upload that tool. So I'm going to show you right now a fluency passage that I'm just going to upload into here. You don't have to, you could just open your PDF if you wanted to on your computer, but if you do want to open it up inside of here, you can. So here we go. This just opened it up over here. I've got 2 pages on here. So I can show both pages. So if I go to page 4, it's showing me the very first page. Page 5 is the second page. I can make this as big as I want. I can make it smaller. It's totally up to me how I want to be able to organize it. And then I can write down what the student's fluency was. I can write what was their word per minute on a first read, a second read, a third read, or a fourth read. And you can upload anything. A lot of people will upload, worksheets for math or different problems that they want to be able to work on. We're going to click on over here. If I want to change colors, I can change the colors of the text that I'm working on. I can choose the size of my marker that I am using to be able to write. I have lots of opportunities to do lots of stuff. All right, so I'm going to go clear all right now for my upload. And then I also have different images and stuff that I can bring on in if I want to. I can change the background color. I can also change it to be different grids. So if I want there to be lines, I can add lines on here. So if I want horizontal lines and spacing, let me delete this. You can see I now have like regular line paper. But let's say I want to create some graph paper. Well, look at that. Now I have graph paper. This makes it really easy if I'm writing down numbers to be able to write them down and then also organize them. So if I've got a student who's really struggling with keeping his numbers in a row, then I can just create paper like this, and that's solved like that, which I really, really like. I can also change the line color if I wanted to. Lots of different choices there. And again, if I want to be able to share this with my student, I grab the link from here and I just give it to them. And that's it. They then are writing on the exact same sheet that I'm working on, which is pretty darn cool. So lots of people be able to really like being able to utilize this. You can save a paper at any point in time. Let's say you wanted to save this into the student's file. You can do that. And you can also clear the board at any point in time, or you can create a PDF of this page if you wanted to. So lots of really great tools that you can utilize. There's some math tools here that you can use. There's a ruler, there's degrees. It's just a matter of just kind of playing with it and seeing, okay, what do I want to be able to do and can I do it? Here I've got like an arrow. But I can also do other tools as well. So over here, I've got different images that I can create. If you want to be able to give a student stickers because you're like, oh, like they need a behavior management thing, like, and they're young and they like that kind of thing, then you can do that as well. Like, you did such a good job. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you the world, or I'm going to give you a flag, or I'm going to give you some mail. You can make it as fun as you want to. So definitely play with it, see what's going to work for you. Another tool that I love using to organize my student information is OneNote. I also use it as a whiteboard when my students do not need to write anything down. Here is how I use it. So at the top here, you could see that I have every single one of my students, and there's this little drop-down menu. These are also my students. So all of my students can't fit on one line, which is fine. I just choose the student that I am particularly working with, and I know exactly what it is that I'm going to be working on. So I can tell when I take a look at this that we are reading the book Golf, and that during our next session, we are going to start on page 9. I know sometimes that my note-taking strategies are a little messier than other people who are a little bit more organized with it, so I apologize for that, but I understand what my notes mean, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters for you too. It's not like you have to have like this neat little package that you're utilizing as your note-taking system. It is just a note-taking system, right? So here we came up with comprehension questions for the book that we're reading. My student has answered those questions. If I ever want to take a look at particular books that we have read, I have them all listed here so that I know, okay, we don't really want to redo lessons that we've already done. And if they choose the same book again, which is very unlikely, I can look back here and see, have we actually read that book before, and be like, let's choose a different book. That usually doesn't really happen. But I can also take a look on over here and see which skills have been taught as well. So here we're talking about like adverbs, we're talking about prepositions. So it gives me an idea. I know the kinds of things that we've already hit and the things that we still need to cover. If we take a look, I'm going to bring up one of my newer students here. I also am able to, like when we read a book about animals, I want them to think about all of the particular things about a book about animals that they're going to learn about. And so we have a discussion about that. And these are the kinds of questions that would get answered in any book about animals. So if we're reading another book about animals, we can quickly review this and be like, okay, so here's the stuff we would expect to learn in a book about animals, and we can come on back to that. Now there's times where I teach a certain skill as well. So I have the skill we've taught about author's purpose. And so if she's still struggling with author's purpose, I don't necessarily need to teach that whole thing to her again. I can just bring up this tool that we've already created together, and I can say, okay, remember when we were talking about PI for author's purpose? What does the P stand for? And they would say persuade. What is the I for? We were talking about that s'mores pie and all the different ways that we can write. And we came up with our story to entertain. And we came up with a way to persuade somebody to eat the pie. We created the history about the pie where we were giving information. So I would remind her about the things that we had learned about here. And that usually is enough. So then I'm able to take a look at the question we're dealing with now and say, okay, so as we take a look at this now, what do you think the author's purpose was in this book? Are they persuading us to do something like eat that pie? Are they trying to give us information? Are they telling us the history, the facts, all that great stuff? Are they explaining how to do something like a recipe step by step? Or are they just here to entertain us? So we'll bring back some of the things that I've been teaching with using these notes. You can see here we've talked about main idea, author's purpose. And so not only do I use it to be able to figure out, okay, I'll always go to the last one and be like, okay, I know what my lesson is for the next day for the student because I put new book. All right, we're going to go into Raz Kids. We're going to choose our new book that we're going to be working on. So this really helps to be able to stay organized. I don't do any lesson planning with my students because I always know the next thing that I need to work on with them. I have inside of my head a lesson plan format already that certain students kind of naturally fit into. So typically we're working on words, then we go into reading our book, whether it's a fiction book or a nonfiction book, and we work on comprehension and comprehension skills. So each of my students kind of fits that pattern. Some kids don't need words, and so I already know that, and I know if I'm going to skip that part or not. But that's what makes it really easy lesson planning wise for me, so that I don't feel like I have to recreate the wheel every single time. The important thing is that the kids are reading books that are at their level. We're working on skills that they particularly need to work on because they're showing me they're struggling with them as we're doing the reading. And then I can teach them the lessons that are necessary based off the stuff they were struggling with right here, right now with me. I love being able to teach in this way, you guys. It's the most responsive way of teaching. And this is why I'm able to close the gap so quickly with my students, is because it's so responsive. It's completely in the need of that child in front of me. It's not based off of a curriculum that I'm following step by step by step. It is because I'm able to figure out what my students need and give it to them immediately. So this is just the tool that I use to be able to do that with. I don't ever really share these notes with my clients. It is just a note-taking purpose for me. Now, when I use this as a whiteboard, I can come on down real quick. Let's say we're struggling with a word, and I can write on my screen, and my student can write on the screen too. So there's a couple of tools here that we can utilize. There's an annotate inside of Zoom. And so I can write a word on here, and then my students can use the annotate button to be able to do any writing on this side. And a lot of times I'll do that when I'm doing spot and dot with them. If I'm writing down the word this word right here, let's say they don't know this word, that on their side, they are going to spot the I, they'll spot the E, and then we'll count how many consonants are in the middle. Now, my students have been taught that they know that the consonant plus LE pattern, this TLE, stays together. And then we have an S. So they know that they're going to draw the line right down there. And then they're able to read this word. And they might read it as this toll. And I'll let them know that this T in particular here is silent. So it's just thistle. So sometimes it works. It works really good to be able to, come up with a strategy to be able to figure out the words. We're making it hands-on for the kids by interacting with them having the ability to be able to draw on here. I don't really have to go into the whiteboard screen in order to do this. I can inside of Zoom. I typically, though, will just use my OneNote as my whiteboard. Now, from the survey so far that tutors have taken, they've said that the things that worry them the most is how fast this virus is spreading, having to cancel travel plans, loss of earnings, economic repercussions, older people like grandparents and parents that have other health conditions, the quarantines and school closures. My goal is to help tutors from the economic repercussions by guiding them into how to move online, even if it's just temporarily, for their own safety and the safety of their family and the safety of their students and their family. The teachers in the school system had a full day to learn how to do what they need to do in the classroom online. But tutors are kind of left to either lose the student completely or temporarily if their area is quarantined and suffer financial setbacks. My goal is to help you keep your students and benefit them the most by continuing with tutoring so that you don't have to fall far behind and you continue to earn your income, possibly even increase your income so that you don't suffer from the economic downturns. This is why this weekend I'm holding an all-access pass to online tutoring training. During this training, you're going to learn how to have the conversation to have a student say yes to online tutoring to lessen the spread of the virus. You're going to get to practice the conversation, get feedback, and feel more confident having this difficult conversation with your students. During day 2, you're going to get to practice the tech. You're going to learn all the features necessary for Zoom, how to set up your calls, share the information with your students, and how to break students up into groups if you're doing like group classes. You're going to get to open up a bit paper, share your screen, ask questions about how to teach the way that you normally do using the online tools that are available to you. On day 3, we're going to be guided in how to set up payment so that you can get paid on time. And on day 4, you're going to learn how to handle the different behaviors associated with online tutoring, like appropriate cell phone usage, turning the camera on and off, and not paying attention. You're going to get to learn how to actively engage your students and get the maximum out of working with them so that not only do your students want to continue with online tutoring, but so do the parents. So this all access training is taking place Thursday, March 12th from 6:30 to 8:30, Friday, March 13th from 2 to 4, Saturday morning, March 14th from 10 to 12, and Sunday evening, 6 to 8. And those times are all in Central Standard Time. Now, this is to accommodate all time zones and make sure that you are able to attend one or all of the training sessions. The calls will be recorded and you will have access to them. Now, to work with me one-on-one typically costs $100 an hour. So this is an $800 value. But since training is necessary and our world is going through an emergency, you get access to all 4 days for just one payment of $47. That turns out to be like $5 an hour. And you're not going to find training on how to use these tools for anything cheaper than that. Why am I doing this at such a low cost? Well, personally, I'm here to support you. I have found that people that do not invest anything take the least amount of action. So I'm only interested in helping those that need the help and are willing to do something with the help that I provide. I think about it this way. Let's imagine you're making $500 a week tutoring in person. Instead of losing more and more students, you get to keep your students and continue to make an income. And if this panic for the public lasts between 2 to 3 weeks, this means that you could be keeping $1,000 to $1,500 more instead of losing it. And how would that impact your situation? If you're interested in joining us, then click the link in the description. And if you're interested in ways to get online tutoring students, click on the link on the right-hand side. The past couple of weeks, I have been putting together some videos on how to get online tutoring students. You can see what is working with other tutors and how to implement it for yourself. Now, next week, we're going to continue on this topic, and you're going to get to find out how I got my very first online tutoring student.